Sometimes the world just needs a hero to help cut through all the noise.
Well, now you have two.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of your Heroes of Noise. I am one half of this dynamic duo. My name is Steve.
Hey, we're back to round numbers again. Episode 140 is upon you. How you guys doing today? My name is Dan. Guys, we're going to have a good show today. It might be a little bit shorter. I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is starting to leave me a little bit here. But other than that, happy to be here, and I wish you all a good week. What's happening? That seemed a little bit extra, huh? That was extra, Steve, wasn't it?
It seemed ending, but anyway, I wish you guys a good week.
I know. The whole thing was just extra. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and skip all that and be like, hey, fuckers, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I mean, I'm glad that you're at least feeling decent.
I feel decent, yeah.
That, I'll take it.
Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I seriously don't think this is going to be the case, but there's a chance, small chance, that I might be COVID positive. We're going to find out real soon.
I'm not going to say that you do have it. I hope you don't. Here's what I'll say, like you said before the show kicked in. Either way, you're sick.
Exactly.
So even if you don't have it,
exactly,
you're sick. You're sick in a time where being sick isn't the greatest thing going about life. So
I don't want to put more on it than it is, because I'm the kind of sick that 2 years ago I would have woken up and went oh man, I think I might be catching something. Well, got to get ready and go to work. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I did yesterday, except that I sounded a little bit worse than I do right now. And I had to call, because I work at a hospital, had to call the boss. The boss was like, keep your ass home. Don't come near us. So I went and got a COVID test today, and that's where we're at. But the reason that I even threw out, there's a chance I might be there's always a chance if you might be COVID positive, but everyone around me in my work environment is just sort of dropping off the schedule for a couple of weeks at a time, and they don't really say why, but it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. So the way I see it, it's only a matter of time, Steve.
Well, I went to go get my flu shot yesterday and saw a line and just signed the declination.
Really? You didn't get it?
No, I just was I don't feel like sitting in that line. And they were like, why are you? Because I always get the flu shot. And I just said, I have to wear a mask anyway. If I have to wear a mask anyway, regardless, and I'm not around a lot of people, and I don't feel like having a sore shoulder today, I'm just going to say, because the tomorrow is the limit. You either have to get it, sign the declination, or you're out of a job, or you're going to be suspended until you get it. So I'm like, I'll sign the declination now and just get it later when there's no line. But I'm still going to get it. Have you gotten your flu shot yet?
Hell yeah, I got my flu shot. And let me tell you something.
Uh-huh.
First of all, let me ask you something, and then I'll tell you something. Did you sign that declination because there was a line, and while you were you went to go do this on work hours?
Official.
So you were getting paid to stand in line to get a flu shot? Yes. I'm going to tell you straight up, Steve, I think you did a stupid thing. I'm just going to be real with you.
I feel you, and the thing is, in my job, there is actually a thing that was going to be closing that I had to take care of, and I was like, oh God, and I'm like, you know what? If this goes, I had to take the tally. I was like, this might go in 3 minutes, but the way they were doing it at the front, I'm like, no, it won't. It won't take those 3 minutes. I have to get back.
I still think you did a stupid thing because you actually waited until the very last minute to do it, and then so you actually did two stupid things, Steve. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm concerned.
No, I get it. I didn't know that it was that he came yesterday and said, "Oh, did you know that if you don't get it by Friday?"
Ah, fair enough.
Because since I'm off site, everything comes to be late. They'll come over like, "Oh, you didn't know that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't, because I don't have a huddle every night." So they just come over and be like, "Hey, I need you to do that thing." But when they have, how you guys have those things you have, those educational things you have to do online.
Yeah.
They give me 30 at a time.
Oh, we get those. We get the 30.
Oh, they're like, oh, you have to get all of these done by tomorrow. And I'm like,
they don't do that to us.
Yeah, I'll have it done within the next 2 days. I need it done. Because I'm like, why don't you guys tell me this? They're like, you're not in the huddle. I'm sorry.
Do you just handle it all in the closet?
What does that mean?
You've told me before that you have a closet you sit in when you're either
watching
a movie
or
they
won't give me a computer. They won't give me
hiding from the world.
Yeah, I asked my manager. I'm like, it'd be dope in my little cubicle. She's like, what?
A cubicle.
She's like a computer, and she said, Steve, here's what I'm not gonna do. give you a computer in that little chill because it's enough room where you could do a backflip in there. And
why do I think you have?
I have not, but there's a desk and I have it all set up and stuff. And she's like, look, I'm not going to give you a computer so you can just chill there. Because the last person that worked there had a PS4 in there and a TV.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and she knows it happened.
Listen, can I bring my PS4 and my TV to work? Who does that shit?
Sure did. They said he would be there all the time. And I said, she knew I wouldn't do that. But she's like, no, just why? It's too tempting. I'm like, it is, but I do bring my laptop, so it's the same thing. I just want to be plugged in so that I can do actual stuff instead of schoolwork.
That is so crazy that someone brought a PS4 and TV to work. Does that person still work there?
Yes. He's untouchable.
And that's what pisses me off about the facility that we work at. There was this one time, you know the time that I'm talking about. We were literally recording, and I got a call from my boss. And they're like, hey, you're supposed to be at work. This was, what was this? Almost 2 years ago, I think? I think this was 2 years ago. And I wasn't supposed to be at work. The schedulers that call us made a mistake. And because I said, listen, I'm late. I disagree with what you're saying, but I'm happy to show up, as quickly as possible. I almost lost my goddamn job.
I remember that.
People are getting away with playing PS4 in their cubicles.
Dude, I think once you hit, like for me, I would have to do some astronomical stuff after 20 years.
It's like tenure.
It's like that. And also, though, they know, they're like, Steve, like my supervisor will come in and I'll just be chilling watching a movie or whatever. But the thing is, in his brain, he's like, I never have to ask this guy to do something twice. If I ask him to do something, even if it's out of, his job description, he'll do it. Because the one day I'll be like, I don't have time. He'll be like, Steve, let's just, we're going to be,
do you know how good you have it here
or
right
do
now?
you not want to get?
Man, you made me push pause and everything.
Dude. And so I never complain whenever they're just like, hey, can you do this? Or can you do a little bit of a plumbing work situation? That I'm like, I might break something. They're like, if you do, we'll call the person in. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Because they know he won't complain, but it's kind of a mutually agreed thing. Like if we come in and he's watching Netflix, we gotta be like, okay. And I haven't missed a day. I haven't missed a day in 7 years. I have missed a sick day. So they take that into consideration too.
Yeah, but you're also that other guy. By the way, I'm hearing you sip your coffee, you gross bastard right now.
Water.
Okay, water. You're still
with
gross.
Agave juice.
I can hear your uvula swinging back and forth in there, bro.
And cinnamon.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What are you trying to do?
It's your fault, dude.
You're going to go work at a juice shop now?
Here's the problem. You started this.
Welcome to the Rare Earth Juicery, bro. Can I get you like a lemongrass with a little bit of cayenne pepper in it? It's real good for your immune system, bro. All right.
Could you do me a favor, Dan?
What?
Can you do John C. Reily as a juice worker?
Okay, guys, that's gonna be a number 4. Hi, how's it going? Welcome to Riley's Juicery. Yeah, can I get a? What do you have? I mean, you have to understand this. I've never been to an actual juicery before. Hold on. First of all, let me ask you something. Do you think I look like Han Solo? Because I think I look like Han Solo. People say that. That's not a good imitation, Steve. I noticed that I can say, hi, I'm John C. Reily, and then it goes away.
No. You have a great... You know what? And I've been in that mood. I could imagine you saying anything in John C. Reilly's voice. If I go to freaking Chipotle, I'll be like, I bet you John C. Reily would be fun right now. Because after Moonbase 8, I've just been like, oh, yeah. I hear him just talk. Just talk and say normal things. And it would make me laugh. And I don't know if he actually talks like that. Or if it's a put on.
I think it's a put on.
You think so?
Because he doesn't do it in every movie. Like the voice that I hear when I do that is from Boogie Nights, as well as oh God, come on, Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are the voices where I hear it. Maybe you know what,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
or maybe Step Brothers too.
Oh, dude, but when has he not talked like that?
I'm trying to remember the song he sings to it. Remember when he's sitting at the table in Step Brothers, and he's saying,
shoot.
I'm a bit of a singer too." If you want to get down on these heavy
Dude, that is a great movie, bro. Every time it comes on, I'm like, the only part I don't like is the end, where they start talking, when they do the whole thing on the boat. I'm like, everyone loves that part. Just like on Napoleon Dynamite, I can't watch him dancing. I fast forward it every time. It's just too much for me. But other than that, I love the movie.
Too much as in like cringy?
Yes, I can't deal with too much. Just like Scott's Tots in The Office, it's a legendary cringe episode. I can't watch it. I can only go so far. Ricky Gervais, if you watch The Office from the UK, it's too much. It's too cringy because you're like, oh, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah, I get that. There's certain things I can't even watch like regular TV where it's not trying to be that way sometimes. If someone's just there and they shouldn't be on television and they're just making a damn fool of themselves, I can't do it. Or like back when the first couple of years of watching American Idol, when I first, like right when it first came out, I watched like the first 2 seasons of it, and watching all of those shows, the tryout shows, people love that stuff. It's cringy. I can't do it.
Dude, I got a question for you. I actually asked my mom and she couldn't remember.
What's that?
It was on the tip of her tongue. Couldn't remember. Who was the host of That's Incredible?
Ooh, okay. All right.
Because she's like, I see his face.
Well, first of all, wasn't there 3 hosts?
There were 2.
One guy was, what was his name? Byron Allen, maybe? I think there was Byron Allen.
He looks like a statue, really.
I can see the dude's face. I don't know his name.
I know. Everyone can see
his face. He's got brown hair, or had brown hair. And then there was a blonde lady, too.
Sure was. Yep.
But I think the black guy's name on the show was Byron Allen, if I'm not mistaken.
Was Byron Allen on that show?
I could be making up a name.
Because Byron Allen's black.
I know a lot of black guys. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Byron Allen. I'm going to look right now because I think I'm right.
You're not.
If it wasn't That's Incredible, it was something. Oh, you know what it was? I'm sorry. You're right. It was a show that was very much like That's Incredible. It was called Real People. Do you remember that one?
I do not remember Real People.
I think they played one right after the other, but it was like That's Incredible and then Real People. And it was like the same kind of a show.
Byron Allen's net worth is insane, right?
I didn't look. What is it?
It's ridiculous. Hold on. Let me see Byron Allen's net worth.
What's your net worth, Steve?
See, they always ask me that on Maj's, on his, and they always ask, do you have more than $5,000 in savings? And I was like, why is that $400 million?
For real? We were just talking about Johnny Favs being like under 100 million. And Byron Allen has 400 million.
Byron Allen has a net worth of 400 million.
Did he invent the orgasm? Like, what is it that made this guy so...
What he does is he makes his own, when he makes his own little shows on these side networks, he owns the rights to them. So like comics, he did that comic Unleashed, and it accidentally ended up, just enough people watched it where it just went for ages. And he owns the rights to that and gets all those residuals in perpetuity. So he does that with a bunch of shows that he starts, and he just owns the rights and he funds them. So the network is like, well, then we're not going to fund the show if you're going to own the rights. He says, okay. And he funds it, but he keeps the residuals.
Damn.
$400 million.
That's fucking crazy.
And when I Google Byron Allen net worth and I see the picture, I'm like, of course. Of course, Jay.
Hey, what about like Wayne Brady? What do you think he's worth?
Oh, let's hold on now. Okay, first whoever gets closest, and we can't do the and 1 cent thing without going over wins. Go. And we're just going by what Google says.
Wayne Brady. I'm saying that. Let's see, he hasn't been around
Remember
as long
Vegas,
as old Byron
Vegas,
Allen.
But he does the Vegas thing. Remember that?
Yeah. I know. I'm putting it all into account here.
All right.
Because I just pulled this question out of my ass. I never really gave it any thought. I'm going to just go ahead and throw out this number. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm kind of going off of Byron and in between Byron and Fabs. And I'm going to say he's worth $200 million.
Oh, damn.
Am I way off?
Yes.
So it's less than that?
I'm going to say he's worth $40 million.
I'm throwing out this arbitrary number because you know what? Poor people like me don't understand this stuff. Let me see.
He's worth $12 million.
$12 million?
He's worth, yeah.
Fuck. I said $200 million. Shows you what I know about being rich.
I said, what?
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing.
I never in a million years would have guessed that Byron Allen is worth $400 million. I'm still not entirely sure that's true.
Here's the thing. Oh, yeah, he is. Because he sued Comcast for something recently.
Ah, there you go.
Like the company. And he lost. But I'm like, in order to be able to sue them, you have to be papered up. Because they were like, oh, no, he has a case. Because normally they're just like, screw you. But they're like, oh, it's Byron Allen. Anyway, Wayne Brady, well, for us, I guarantee, and some people listening to the episode, if we went to a house party of a millionaire, we would not be able to know if that millionaire is worth 12 million or 500 million. Whereas other rich people will be like, I can tell you exactly how much this guy is worth because he can't afford this, but he can afford it. For us, I'm like, well, it's somewhere between 7 million and $8 billion. Can't quite tell which one it is. He has a yacht.
I'm almost embarrassed I gave him such a high number, but I just don't. It shows you where I'm at on the...
because rich is rich.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you what tax bracket I'm in. Certainly not that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I wouldn't be able to go to Jeff Bezos' house. And if I didn't know him and he's like, how much you think I'm worth? Shoot high. I'd be like $400 million. He'd be like, yeah, try 100 billion. I'd be like, it's all the same to me. I don't know what the difference between 400 billion and 8.
It might as well be. It might as well.
Exactly. Sure.
It's more money than I'll ever have.
That would be the quickest conversation. Be like, haha, it was 100 billion. I'm like, huh, crazy. Nice TV. It would literally be that quick. I'm like, yeah, you guys are all in the same weird ritual where you have fire with goats' heads. I know you guys all meet there, right? It doesn't matter if you're $100 billion. Anyway, show me the bathroom.
So what do you think of someone like Jeff Bezos? What do you think he spends his money on that gets him excited about, besides like investing to make more money?
Nothing. I think he's going to end up jumping off of a
I
building.
think that you get to a certain point. I'm sorry, hold on. Mm-hmm. I think that you get to a certain point where it's like, you know what? This is awesome, but I have kind of done everything that I can possibly do. There's nothing out there that I can buy that's going to give me that little bit of, that short-term elation that people feel when they buy things, there's nothing that I can do. It always has to be more grand because you can't go backwards.
Absolutely.
I don't think that Bezos is like shopping at Winco and shit like that,
No,
and so it's like, I think that he only gets the best of the best. I could be wrong. You never know. This is how these people keep their money. But, COVID at the same time too made this man so much more rich.
Have you heard about a movie called, what's the movie? Hold on, I'm about to find out. It's called...
Have you heard of this movie, Steve?
I just watched it.
That good, huh?
Daggone it. It was a really good movie. Shoot. Anyway, it's a documentary about... have you ever seen those people that you know the face, but you've seen them on things, but you just don't know their names?
Like character actors?
Yes. What the documentary is, they're like, I forgot what it's called. It's on Amazon Prime. And it's about a bunch of different people who make a living doing stuff that, like, I'm like, oh, I've seen her a million times on this movie. But she's like, yeah, but I'm not a household name, but I'm making a living. There's a musician that's not a household name, but he's making a living. And I think when he talked about his life, I'm like, that's where you have to stay happy. You're not a multi-billionaire, so you're not hungry anymore. Look at Eminem. As soon as he made money, his rap ability or what he could do he wasn't as hungry as he was in the first EP.
There's no
That's
kind
just
of.
light.
He phoned a lot of shit in, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Because he couldn't talk about how broke he was, that hunger wasn't there. And this dude named Griffin House in the documentary, he's like, sometimes I he packs like 200 seaters. He's a musician. He packs like 200 seat, like coffee houses, little concert rooms. And he's like, one day I was leaving and a guy said, oh, I love your concert, dude. I believe you'll make it one day. And Griffin was like, you just paid to see me. So isn't this making, he said, you think you have to fill Madison Square Garden, but you can just do this and make a good living. $70,000, $80,000 a year doing this. Touring coffee houses, doing this thing. Whereas if you make $1 billion, you have nothing. Like Jay-Z is just good because it's in his very being. Like he doesn't have to be as good as he is. It's just in his being, but he's also one of the few that was like, he talked about being broke when he was broke and then talked about being rich when he was rich. His rap moved to where he was. And I'm like, that's a once in a lifetime situation. You're not going to find that. So being hungry, just pay your bills doing what you love to do. Jeff Bezos isn't happy. I don't care. I bet you, I know it. He's just not, because there's nothing he has to strive for. Nothing.
Just hella bored all the time.
Oh, dude. His wife, that's why she gave all that money recently. She gave all that money away because she's like, I'm not going to be him. Take all of it. I don't need to live off billions and billions of dollars. Take it. Because she knows, I've seen what this does to people. She's smart. She's like, no. I'm not going to do this. No. Because she knows I don't need $50 billion. It's a smart thing. I think, like they said in the, every book says, once you're able to pay your bills and live comfortably, everything after that, you will have a diminishing level of return. You're just not going to be happy. So if you say you make $200,000, it's not going to get happier than that. Because you can pay everything, everything's fine, life is good. Nothing is going to be as good as making that first $200,000 year. That was the year. Oh my God. Everything goes downhill. They're like, so be careful about what because it's true. The way your brain works, you're chasing the dragon after that. You have to just be like, you know what? I make what I make. Whatever. Life is fine. I can pay my bills. I can eat. I mean, look at Wayne Brady. He makes $12 million. That's his net worth. It ain't a bad net worth. I could be happy.
Did you hear about Jay-Z's new venture?
What?
What hasn't he done yet? Take a guess.
Oh, man.
It's kind of like a natural step given his persona and his career.
Jay. What would Jay do?
It's almost cliche when you think about it, but there's money to be made. Lots of it.
Energy drinks?
Oh, you're getting closer, but no.
What is it?
Marijuana, my friend. He now has partnered with
worst.
He's partnered. Why is he worse? Maybe why is that? Why does that make him the worst, Steve? Why? Tell me why, Steve.
Here's what he should have done. Number one, the reason that a lot of people, especially people of color, can't get in because the barrier of entry of actually having that startup money. Why doesn't he fund some of them? What, you need more billions, Jay? Is that what you need? Or can you maybe set up a foundation where other people that don't have the money to get into the marijuana business can do so? They've been doing it really well up till now.
Okay, I literally just told you this. I'm not saying that he's done any of the things that you just said, but how do you know he hasn't? You just heard a story and ran with it. I'm just saying,
Jay.
Right?
Because he did the same thing.
It's Jay. Well, you know how he is, Jay.
He did that same thing recently with the Kaepernick thing.
I think the answer to your question is that, and I'm not saying it makes it right or anything like that, but that's how these people get so rich.
You're so
know what I mean?
right,
That's
dude.
what makes what makes them who they are. They wouldn't be these people if they had the mentality of, well, let me just give it all away like fucking Robin Hood.
You're totally right. Nope, you're right.
You know?
You're like what you just said.
And capitalism's ugly. Capitalism is ugly, but at the same time, he's doing his thing.
Yeah, bro, here's the problem. You're totally right. You wouldn't have gotten stupid rich doing that.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't.
I don't want that. Here, you can have it. Anyway, for anyone that's interested, he's partnered with a company called Kaliva.
Yeah.
If you're looking for some of the product, it's called Monogram. And I bet you anything, it's crazy expensive. So just because of the name.
Monogram.
But everyone's getting into it now, man. Run the Jewels has their own weed. Snoop's got his own weed. Tyson has his own weed. Who else? I mean, it's just a...
Tyson has his own weed?
Well, I know that Tyson bought some property. Maybe it's not there yet. And maybe he sold. But I know for a fact that he had bought some property in Barstow, California, and was thinking about turning that into a big grow area right
Mike Tyson?
Yes.
Oh, I would love that.
He's like, who wants to buy my cannabis?
Would you start your own grow room?
If I could? Yeah, hell yeah, I would.
I would go into that business.
I totally would. I say we go into it.
Well, you need $200,000.
Hey, once this shit gets legalized across the board, because it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen next year, but it's possible. It'll happen eventually. Game on, man. Let's do it. Could you imagine, bro, being like, oh, you got that Heroes? Let me get some of that.
Dude, that would be... Well, I think in the next year and a half or so, it's going to be legalized federally.
Can I get an eighth of the noise? And
dude,
let me get that Favon special. Oh, that's just too expensive.
Dude.
That's like $70 an eighth. Let me go. I'm gonna tell you what. Let me get that. Oh, sniff. We could just name all. We could name all the strains. We can name all the strains after shit you say, Steve.
I couldn't try it, but I would believe off of your opinion that it's great.
You couldn't try it.
No, I'm not doing that again.
You go back and forth with this, don't you?
Well, no, the edible thing I could. The other thing I'm just never doing again.
We've already established this time and time again why you had the reaction. It's your own fault.
No one knows.
Yes, we do, Steve.
It's a mystery.
No, it's not. You just don't go green into something and go, you know what? How much should I take? You know what? I would probably just take a couple of hits just until you kind of figure out where you're at. Nah, I'm going to be Steve Hudson and just do the whole thing. That's what happened.
It was a tiny little thing, dude.
That's what she said. Couple times. She's been very vocal about this lately, Steve.
And on careful. That, we should get contact information. I need to make one of those. I need to make one of those songs for you.
I know. I need to have. I've been looking for one and I can't find it. Every time we get a zinger, we should have that. You know what I mean?
Woo! Maybe I can get a kazoo.
I mean, the closest that I have right now is that'll work, but it's not great.
It's not a kazoo, though.
No, not a kazoo. I could probably do a better kazoo, but today's not the day. Can
you do contact, or are you?
This is proving harder to be than I thought it was going to be.
That's what she said.
I deserved that one. Hey, real quick, Steve, before we get going, I think it's important that we address something, and it's a good thing. I like addressing good things. I want to say hello to our new listeners over at Geek Life Radio. And Geek Life Radio is basically an online radio show where podcasts can submit their shows, and then we actually have a slot where every Wednesday from 11 to 1, I believe, Central Time on geekliferadio.com. So I've noticed lately, looking at our feed, that all of a sudden our numbers have doubled. Like we were getting a certain number of listeners, every week consistently, and it is now doubled that. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you like what you're hearing. I apologize. Today's probably not going to be the best one of our shows, but come back.
He's almost crying. That's it. It brings tears to his eyes is why he's talking like this.
Dude, I'm finding myself getting winded by the second. But I just wanted to say thank you guys very much for listening and welcome aboard. I hope you stick around. I hope you like what you're hearing. What I think is super cool is I noticed that it's not like they're just jumping onto the newest show and that's where we see our listenership. They're actually going back and listening to from the very beginning.
Ooh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, I just happened to find that out the other day. I was looking on the first show and I was, oh, look at these numbers here for, this month for that first show. So again, welcome everyone. We really appreciate you listening. All right, now we can do the contact information, Steve.
I thought you were going to start the rip it music.
I don't have the rip it music yet, but I will get that.
I'm going to get it to you.
Thank you. What is the name of that song?
Rip it.
What is that? That's a real song.
It is a real song, but I don't think it's public domain.
I don't care. Yeah, like we have issues with that. now you're concerned about public domain music.
It's so funny you say that. I'll talk to you later on. Found out more about that whole using music on your podcast thing.
Oh yeah, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it's just they pick and choose who to ding. Because they're like, there was one dude, one dude was playing something and they're like, we might get dinged for that. They're like, it's funny because a very, very well-known podcaster played the whole freaking CD and doesn't get dinged. They just pick and choose who to ding for it.
Pardon the term. But I think that maybe this could be like a Karen situation. And that's how people get caught.
For sure.
Did you know that this is what they played? I'm going to tell somebody. And then they get the right people involved and then you have to pull your music.
And it's
so we got to be nice to our listeners.
We are. Oh, but that's why we can just play the Beatles all the time, right?
Yeah, man.
Let's play Yesterday for the whole episode next time.
Let's do that next time, mate. That sounds good. All right,
are you
ready?
That's a really good impersonation. All right.
You're so complimentary, Steve. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do my best with this one. Hey, what's happening? My name is Dan. Welcome to the show. Sure, I don't sound like myself, but you know what? I don't feel like myself today. Do we all feel like ourselves today? I don't think so. I don't know. Let's just move along. We'll see what happens at the end of the show. Maybe we'll be back to normal. If you want to get a hold of the show, hit us up at heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. That is heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can reach the show at Heroes of Noise. You can reach me, myself, and I at DanQPublic, and my man Steve over there at SE_Hudson Music. I implore you to go to www.heroesofnoise.com and check out the new website. It's still under construction. We have a few things that we need to work out, but it's looking pretty sharp so far, I gotta say. We got a new reviews page that we're working on. If you guys want to review Movies, pop culture stuff, comics, things like that. What else? You got a porn review? Why the hell not? Just make it stylish. Send it over to me, all right? Ask. Sorry, Steve. Oh, my God. I apologize, people. I'm about ready to cough here, so I'm going to end this right now. You should just follow everything we do. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. Oh, fuck. This is getting hard. I apologize.
No, that's what she said. Hey, I got a question, dude. You said it during the rundown. I'll take it a little bit. I'll take it over from here.
That was the first time that I've not been able to finish that, so I apologize. You've heard it enough. I know you get it. You probably have it memorized, but I'm just saying it was hard.
Yeah, we're getting through.
All right. What were you going to say?
Did you hear about you heard about Pornhub?
Yeah. What was the story? Hold on. It's not like it's fresh in my memory, but something about they pulled like a whole bunch of video, right?
Dude, 7 million.
7 million. And what was the deal? Why did they do that?
They were finding out that there was, it's a good reason. They found out that there was child porn in some of the unverified videos.
That's a good reason to pull it.
Instead of doing, like, MasterCard and Visa said you can no longer pay for a Pornhub membership using our cards. And so, mind you, Pornhub was already going to try to rectify the situation. And they ended up just pulling if you're not verified, you can't upload a video. That's what it said. And which is a game changer for, like, at first I was like, oh, this is great news. But then, as always, you hear the other side where, you know, some sex workers are like, look, this is how I make a living. So when you just pull millions, or not even pull the videos, they're like, so if you can't pay, my people can't pay me through MasterCard or Visa. That hurts my business. And I was like, dude, it's so weird how there's different sides to everything. They did the right thing. MasterCard and Visa just, you know, they did what they thought was the right thing, but I didn't even take into consideration the sex workers that are like, you know, hey, this is how I make my living. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I applaud what Pornhub did. That's a lot. 7 million is a lot to make a problem that is a real problem, you know, try to rectify it. And so I was like, oh, that's a cool story that, you know, I don't hear too many people talking about because it's Pornhub. And I was like, well, you got to give them, that's a lot of videos, dude.
Yeah. And just because they like to show pornography doesn't make them bad people. It seems like they're doing the right thing, right?
They are totally doing the right thing. It's, if anything, they're doing something that a lot of other sites aren't. The other sites are like, screw you. Then just don't watch. Whereas they are doing this humongous, you know, this massive move. Now, also, though, I also get why a lot of, there's a lot of heat going toward Pornhub's way in general because, you know, as you know, just like, what was it? Napster. Pornhub is pornography's Napster. They took down the industry almost, pretty much. They took them down.
Maybe Lars Ulrich will get involved.
Oh, dude, don't even mention his freaking... Do you know how mad I was at him during Napster? Looking back, he was right. It's just his voice and how he did it.
So somebody got a video of me and my ex-wife. We were in a hotel. I don't know if you know this, but I'm in Metallica. So I was with Metallica with my wife, and we all had fun in this room. And the next thing I know, it's on Pornhub. So you got to take it down, and I'm going to sue all of you.
He's the worst.
I got kicked off of Napster because of Lars Ulrich.
No, you didn't.
I've been mad at him ever since.
Is Napster still a thing?
You know what it is?
Like a paid thing?
It's still a thing. I don't know if it's paid or not. I mean, I have found other ways, but yeah, it's still there. What? Why are you laughing? I didn't say anything about it being like illegal. I just said I found other ways to get my music.
Well, here's the thing. When we really get to it, isn't iTunes or Apple Music doing what Napster did?
They're just paying for it.
They pay them nothing. You remember, musicians hate iTunes. And they're like, well, maybe they could have turned Napster into something better without destroying it. And now you have a $1 billion company being like, hey, now you get 1 cent on the whatever.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm saying that they're compensating the bands for these purchases, but they are paying them for it. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's
they're paying the company. Yes.
That's the difference. Yes. There is money that is there's transactions of money that are being done. And that's why it's okay. Whereas you just have anyone sitting in their basement, sitting in their bedroom, whatever, downloading as much music as they want to. I get it.
That was the days.
It is. Listen, I rock with the best of them, man. You know, but it is what it is when you think about it. So we can sit there and act like, it's not that bad, but we're not the ones that are losing money on this stuff. And I'm not trying to sound like I have morals. I'm just saying that's what I think.
No, I totally get it. I think it's the whole streaming thing is a game changer from porn to music.
Yeah.
The only one that haven't, and the only people that are still, they kind of got ahead of the game were movies. They kind of got ahead of the curve because they saw Netflix and it kind of clued them in. Everyone else got kind of knocked on their back foot. It was like, whoa. Whereas movies were like, okay, we see how this is about to roll. We're going to have to figure out something to get around this situation.
Yeah, and they're doing it again right now.
Dude, HBO Max, man. Whew.
Warner Brothers
Ladies
pissed.
and gentlemen. Ladies and... You know what? The people are... I didn't realize one part of the story was they paid Gal Gadot and the director like a grip of money to let them stream it. And they didn't pay any of the other people their movies. They didn't pay any of those actors a grip of money to let them stream it. I don't know why Gal Gadot and Homegirl got that money.
Well, we were just talking about why people get rich, right?
Ooh.
You know?
It's true.
Nice guys finish last, bro. I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's the truth.
And I know Keanu's like, what the crap? I could have used $10 million to stream. That would have been nice, but...
Wait, are you telling me that I did not get that money? Well... I'm sorry, I can't do them today. I apologize. I feel like I'm giving you guys a shit show, and I apologize.
No, it's really good. And here's the thing.
I'm hearing them come out, and I'm like, it's just a swing and a miss. It's a swing and a miss.
I know Keanu is probably one of those like, well, that's not fair. And then he's like, whatever. He's probably the one guy doing that.
I'm the nicest guy in the world. You take it.
He understands. He's one of the few that look at his career and say, I am lucky that I am here. Like, I am here. Whereas I think like we always talk about, some of those other actors, the only actor that I believe that is just like, I was built to do this thing, there's only one. It seemed like he was cryogenically
Oh, no. Here we go.
created.
Bad timing, Steve.
Why?
Go ahead and say the name.
Wait, let me look at the notes. Is this bad?
It's just topical. If you're talking about who I think you're talking about.
Maybe look at
You're talking about Tom Cruise, right?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. You heard about him blowing up at everyone?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was going to say The Rock. He was the
Rock.
only actor I think was quite, like, there's nothing else he could have done looking like he does. He couldn't be at our job walking around. We'd be like, I would stop him and be like, hey, you know there's this thing called Hollywood that you might want to just walk. You might drive across the LA city line and someone will just knock on your window because you don't look human. You just don't. He doesn't look human to me.
I know. Speaking of not looking human, God, what was the name of that movie? It's a football movie about him and a little girl. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I forgot
I
what
can't think of the name
is.
of it. It's a movie I watched a long time ago. My wife and my daughter love it. They watched it all the time, but I don't remember the name of the movie. But just a couple of nights ago, I was walking through the room, and that movie was on. Now, I don't remember exactly when that movie came out, but we're talking movie, probably dude. At least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
At least.
Uh-huh.
That man has changed so much in 10 years, dude.
He looked normal in that movie.
Listen, I'm not judging, okay? I'm not going to judge, and I don't want to go off on any type of judgment on people that do this, but it's got to be steroids, right?
Oh, dude, come on. What are you
right?
talking about?
It's like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that to Gail, but I think Gail was taking the side of she just loves The Rock and he can't do any wrong, and no matter what I tell her. I'm like, those are clearly steroids. Like, look at him. You know what I mean? Like he just works out a lot. He's got a lot of time. I understand that, but that ain't natural, babe. That's not natural. It's
not the way he looks. You don't get that big. Your body does not look like that without steroids.
You know what that means, though?
What's that?
Like 20, let's say 2045, maybe 2040. Let's say 2040. We're going to have Fat Rock on our hands.
I don't think so. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He looks fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He looks fantastic.
It's not like The Rock's going to run out of money and can't purchase the steroids anymore. So, yeah, you're probably right. But I'd like to picture a Fat Rock, though.
Like The Rock, if you put Rock next to Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day when he was winning every Olympia, he would make him look like a shrimp. That's how big
those dudes
we've gotten
monsters.
Now.
Like Franco Columbo.
Yeah, and The Rock would have walked in there and they would have looked at him and been like, you have got to be from the future. You look ridiculous. He was that big. And like I said, Ronnie Coleman's the one where they're like, we have to take this down a notch. This is getting insane. This is getting insane.
He looked so different because he had, there's a reason why he started shaving his head. So that was like the back end of him having hair. And he was so much thinner, and his face looked longer.
Thin, dude. Yes,
his face looked elongated. He looked crazy. I wish you knew who Darth Plagueis was, because I was like, that homie looks like Darth Plagueis right there. But that joke just goes nowhere.
Is it Darth?
Darth PLA.
Oh, there's another Darth?
Oh, there's a ton of Darths, bro.
Oh, I didn't know that. I only knew one.
Yeah, check out Darth Plagueis.
He freaked me out. And when I watched that movie, I was like, they should be talking about this guy more. He's really good.
Who are you talking about? Darth Vader?
No, Maul. Oh, there is 2 Darths.
Yeah, there's a lot of Darths, actually.
I didn't know. Maul was like, in that movie, when something happened to him, I don't want to ruin it for people.
Yeah, don't do that, Steve. Don't tell anybody anything. No one knows that.
I was like, come on, this guy could have had his own movie.
He got cut in half there. I just couldn't allow you to.
Why did they I don't understand that. He was so good. He could have had his own franchise. No question.
Darth Maul was dope, but is Ray Park dope?
I don't know who Ray Park is.
That is the guy that plays Darth Maul.
Oh, he is, isn't he?
Is he? I don't know. I mean, he can do some really cool shit on screen. But
could he act?
I've never heard him do this big 10-minute monologue or something like
Dan,
that.
You're very smart. Dan, that is a great... I'm sure he could not have held a movie by himself.
Lucas walked up to him and was like, hi there, you look like you're going to be you look like a star. I really was watching everything you did, and you look fantastic, and I think I'd like to have you audition for the movie. And Ray Park was like, oh, thanks. Let's not have him talk. Let's not do that. Oh, I guess we ought to get it.
Is that how George Lucas talks? Or George?
That's my interpretation of George Lucas.
I didn't know that's how I thought he had a super deep voice.
I don't know. Maybe he
in
does.
my brain, I thought he was like, "Hey, how you doing?"
That brain of yours tells you a lot of stuff. I mean, let's be real.
It does tell me, but I would have. I think that was when I left when I stopped when the movie ended. I thought it was good, and everyone else was like it was trash. And I was like, maybe I'm just not into. Maybe I just don't get it. I thought it was very entertaining.
It was just bad script, I think, is really what it was, and too much CGI, and also rabid Star Wars fans. All of that,
true.
Present party included.
I thought Darth Maul was the dopest. I thought it was like a 2-sided joint.
No, he's dope. I thought they were going to be making a series about him, and the Disney announcement didn't have anything there about that. So I don't know if they're going to place him someplace else. I know they brought him back for Solo for just a real quick scene, and that's what kind of made the jump off of, oh, maybe he's going to, a new movie or something. Maybe there's still something to come, but it does make me wonder. And I know he doesn't talk the way that I was pretending he talks, but maybe that's it. Maybe he's just really good with his physical acting, and, you can get a few lines out, and that's about it. Because, I mean, he really said, I think 3 things the entire movie.
That's about it. Well, the thing is, my thing is, you have paint on your face. We can put anyone under there.
True. We can find somebody that look like him. Will they move like him?
He was very agile and spry.
Oh, yeah. Super dope. Had the double lightsaber. He was awesome. But, I don't know, man. I haven't seen him do too many acting roles since then.
No.
He's always like he was in X-Men. And I'm sure he was in a bunch of martial arts movies, but I don't know. Ray Park, I don't know, man. I just don't have a good feeling about it. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
All right. You want to hear some noise news, bro?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Well, hi. Welcome to Noise News. My name is Dan Ramirez, and I'm with my buddy Steve Hudson. How's it going? Let's talk about the goings-on of the Hollywood world, Steve. You want to do that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's zazz it up a little bit. Hey, as of today, CBS All Access is airing the Stand series that just came out. Are you going to watch this?
I can't. I don't have All Access.
Okay, I was just wondering if maybe the Stand was something that would entice you enough to pay for the service. I personally have it, but then I'm gonna get rid of it once it's over because I'm okay with CBS. I like it, but we're in a time where it's I need to be picky with my subscriptions. There's just too much going on. You know what I mean?
Wait, did you watch the Twilight Zone?
I did watch the Twilight Zone. That's why I go CBS and I have this on again, off again relationship.
I was about to be are you just cutting it off and then cutting it on and cutting it off?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's
what
dope.
I do.
That's dope.
That's what I used to do for DC Universe too, until they just proved to be garbage. So I was gone with that. But yeah, anytime that they have a new show, because they do get some good ones in, and then it's all this other stuff that you've already seen. That's why I don't have it. And when you can pay, I'm not paying for HBO Max. Maybe I should pay for this more. I don't know. But anyway, as of today, the Stand series is out. Do you know who the cast is?
I do not.
So, for those that don't know what the Stand is, as the world is in ruins due to a man-made plague, that sounds familiar, a battle of biblical proportions ensues between the survivors. This series stars James Marsden, Jovan Adepo, Whoopi Goldberg, Amber Heard, Brad William Henke, Catherine McNamara, Alexander Skarsgård, Owen Teague, Nat Wolff. I mean, just a whole bunch of people. I'm trying to see if Ezra Miller's in it. That's okay, though. I'll still watch it. and a slew of other people.
I might have to buy this.
I don't work for CBS, obviously, but I'm pretty sure that you could do the free month thing if you've never done that before.
I think I'm going to have, because
the free month trial.
I will watch anything with James Marsden.
Did you watch Enchanted?
I will watch most anything with James Marsden.
See, I can always prove you wrong, Steve. Anyway, this would be I think this is the third version of The Stand. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the third version of The Stand. I like to compare The Stand with, like, say, It from the 90s. I don't really care for that. I know people love that movie, that series, rather.
The end was terrible.
I just could not get with it, even in the time where everyone was like, oh, my God, he's amazing. I like Tim Curry and everything, but I'm sorry. Let's just say it was like Tenet to me. Just, I wasn't understanding it, and I didn't give a shit. So,
don't even bring
but
up
the story itself, though, Steve.
Yes.
Guys, I am so sorry. I'm like getting winded talking. Okay. But the story itself is amazing, and I'm very curious to see what this interpretation of it is like. I haven't read any reviews on it or anything like that, but this is what I plan to do with the rest of my day, is dive into The Stand. 9 episodes, and that's it. Yeah, it's just going to be one season, I believe.
Have you read the book?
I read the book a very long time ago.
Okay.
Very long time ago. Like, there was a point where I was just going through Stephen King books, and I was probably... I mean, I must have been probably like 13 years old when I read it, so it's been a very long time. But I've always appreciated the story. I do think it's one of his better ones. It's just super, super long. And I think it was the 90s version of The Stand. Started strong and then just kind of fizzled, like most Stephen King things in the 90s did. But this time around, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, they have been making better Stephen King products lately, right?
Yes.
The recent Pet Sematary was amazing. Dr. Sleep, amazing.
It was really good.
Dude, that movie is way,
really
way better than people are giving it credit for. That movie is fantastic.
When you sent that to me, I was in shock at how good that movie was.
And I don't even care if it like, I think most movies that are made from books do veer off the course a little bit. I don't care. This movie was fantastic. The acting was solid.
Oh, so
I'm
good.
still tortured by the screams of Jacob Tremblay. You know,
that was everyone on set. I mean, when you read the story of that scene, everyone on set was tortured.
Yeah, dude, it's super bothersome, even still. And I know the kid's acting. I know the kid got paid well, but to hear a kid screaming like that and then watching them inflict pain, I'll say that. I won't say what they do, but inflicting pain, because that movie's still fresh. So see, I don't mind, holding spoilers for, say, that one. But you were talking about episode 1. That was 1999. I think that one has had enough time.
Hey, chill, dude. No one knows what happened to Darth Maul.
That's true. You know what? I'm sorry, man. I take it all back.
I actually have an It-related story.
What's that?
It's going to take 30 seconds. At the end of my shift, I was walking. I have to go through this back alley to finish. I looked to my left, and there was a homeless person in a clown outfit.
Oh, Jesus.
That's all.
What did you do?
Immediately, I looked over. I was like, that is an interesting thing to happen tonight. And he had a hat on and everything, and he was standing by a trash can looking at me. And I thought, oh, you know what probably happened? He's really, really cold. Someone threw away a clown outfit, and he put that on because it's the only thing that he can get on to make himself warm. And I finished my shift.
But what would you do if he was looking at you and you, like, gave him an uncomfortable acknowledgement of a nod or a smile or a hello or something?
I did give him
a
a nod.
Oh, what's up with it? Something. And then he just starts very slowly walking towards you. You could run. You could get away from him. But this is what he's doing. He's just walking slowly towards you. Would you stick around to see where this...
I would go back. I'd finish my shift, yeah. That's not a no-finish shifter.
I'm saying, are you going to stay in that alley with crazy clowns?
Yeah, I would just... I don't... Because it wouldn't be one of the... If he had a knife, I would be like, okay, now it's serious.
But
no
you don't
knife.
know. How do you know?
Because I'm like, I just... In my brain... I'm not going to get killed by a clown. That just doesn't happen. So I just wouldn't trip. Again, I'm the black dude in the movie, probably.
I just think that I don't see the point of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of clowns.
Well, he's walking and I'm walking faster.
I am cautious of crazy people, though, you know?
Yes. But you said he's walking slow, Dan.
That's true. But still. What are you going to do? You're going to let him walk all the way up to you till about 2 feet and then go, and then like...
Oh, I'd be gone by then because I'm walking faster.
But you said you would let him walk up to you.
No, I said I didn't say he'd walk. I said I wouldn't change my direction. I would just be like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
That's just an interesting thing.
Hypothetical questions. That's just hypothetical questions.
All right, let's do it. Let's move on. All right.
So this next one, Steve, I'm very curious to see what you think about this. I know how I feel about this. I'm not real passionate about it, but I know how I feel. I'm going to go ahead and just read the caption to you, the headline, if you will, and you tell me what you think. So Lily James and Sebastian Stan have been tapped to play Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee in an event series for Hulu. Seth Rogen's on board to play the man who got his hands on the infamous sex tape. Don't worry about that last sentence, Steve. What's the first sentence do for you?
That is going to be garbage.
Uh-huh. But why? I know why. I just want to know what you think.
I just think because there is no way to, in my opinion, this is just not an interesting enough story. We just did the interesting story of Tommy Lee. We did that already.
Go on.
I don't want to see, because in my brain, I'm not even interested. I lived it. I remember this story, and I don't want to watch it on TV. It was everywhere. I just don't want to, and I don't want to see those two doing it. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm clocking out. Have fun.
See, I personally am good with everything. I don't care. I think Tommy Lee is a very interesting person. I think I'm not saying he's a great person. I think he's very interesting. He's got a lot of stories to tell. There's a lot that's gone on with Tommy Lee and that whole thing with him and Pam Anderson. What gets me about this is that they have taken two people that resemble, they've taken two people that look nothing like them, not even a little bit. And I don't know, Sebastian Stan, he's pretty dry. Like, I don't know if he can really do Tommy Lee. Can you see him being that aggro, being Tommy Lee? I can't see it. And
No.
Lily James, Lily James is a very beautiful woman.
She's normal looking.
I'm not body. Yeah, she's normal looking. Exactly. I'm not body shaming. I'm just saying that the resemblance is so far away from Pam Anderson that I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this one. They're both fine actors. I know we both are fans of Seth Rogen's work.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what this is going to be, but I have a very bad feeling about it. I think it's going to be a disaster. And I think it's getting back to the dirt though, Steve. I do think that that was the stronger story, but there was a lot that went on between those two. So it has potential to be interesting. I'm questioning the casting.
And I'm saying that Lily James she looks like a normal pretty actress. That's it.
Yeah.
The reason Pamela Lee stood out is because she looked different. I remember back in the day,
She was
I'm
a
like,
bombshell.
oh, I see why dudes like her. It wasn't my thing, but I was like, oh, I get why dudes like her. And I was like, they could have found that. You know who would have played a good Pamela Lee, even though she doesn't look like her?
I'm very curious to hear.
Alexandra Daddario.
How do you spell that last name? I got to see.
Daddario.
Double D's, huh?
This guy.
I did not know that was her name. I like her.
I know you do, Dan.
Remember we were talking about the other day when it's like, oh, I better go check the IMDb on this piece. That's one of the ones. But
yeah, she would
definitely has a look about her.
Yes, and she's
a voluptuous woman.
And they'd have to change her eye because her eyes are way too
super blue.
Whoa, yes, you have to change the eye color. But she could be Pamela Lee.
I would not be mad at that.
Because she looks different.
Here's another one, though. So I put this up on the Heroes of Noise community page, and Rob Forrest answered. And he's like, I'll just read what he wrote. He says, we don't really have a current blonde bombshell like Pam Anderson these days. Lily James is very cute, but not a bombshell. He says, I think that maybe the closest could possibly be, and I'm kind of in agreement with this by this picture, Alice Eve.
She could do it.
Again, better than Lily James, at least as far as casting goes.
But she's not on Daddario.
No, that's true.
Yeah, Daddario is a bombshell.
She was great in that movie. God, I'm so bad right now. I just feel fog brain. But we just watched it, or I just watched it. It was like that where they were the serial killers. We Summon the Darkness. That's the one I'm talking about. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Okay, dude, watch We Summon the Darkness. She's fantastic in this movie. It's a slasher type comedy, but it's excellent. I think you should check it out.
Dan, I know who should have played Pamela Lee. They would have had to do some enhancements, but I know exactly who should have played her.
Who's that?
They couldn't afford her, though. Margot Robbie. It's not close. It's not close.
I thought about that, but you're right. There would be prosthetics involved.
That's fine. Or the way they did Wolf of Wall Street, they just had the push-up thing.
Yeah,
she would have been it. But the thing is, next to Sebastian Stan Lee, Tommy Lee. That's genius. Anyway,
what's up, true believers?
But I think that next to Sebastian Stan, she would just be too bright. She's really a good actress.
They've already acted together, Steve.
Sebastian Stan and her?
Yeah.
When?
I, Tanya.
He was in that. He was the
and
boy.
He was good.
He was really good. I'm tripping.
Matter of fact, I like him better in that, and this is where people get mad at me, but I think he's way better in that than, say, like as Winter Soldier.
He
you know
was
what I mean?
really good.
Yeah, he's really good. The thing, and I'm not knocking his acting skills. It's just him as Tommy Lee. Hey, get him into some prosthetics and a wig and stuff, and let's see what we got. But
prosthetics. I see what you did. I'm about to make everybody mad. Nope, except for you. You know, and you know what? I'm about to make one of our listeners really happy. You know who you should have just got to do it?
I agree. I said that this morning.
Just get the dude who did it well.
Bring back MGK, because only one person on this earth should play Tommy Lee, and it's MGK.
He drummed like him.
Yeah, that's the only time I'm going to absolutely praise this dude. Is because of this movie. I mean,
I don't know, dude.
I don't hate MGK. I think he's a fun actor.
The way he raps cat and hat and bat and fat, though.
You're on your own on this one.
Okay.
It's the holidays. I'm trying to be nicer, Steve.
He said, I'm not going down this road.
See, Melissa, I stuck up for you.
I'm not going to watch it, but I think they just casted it wrong. But again, in this time, maybe these are the only people they could have gotten. Sebastian Stan, now is making me rethink, because he can act. Tanya was fantastic.
Never said he couldn't.
That was a fantastic movie.
It's just the look. Matter of fact, I watched that movie just a couple of weeks ago, and it still holds up. It's great. It's a really
good movie, dude. That's a really good movie.
That is an acting tour de force by everyone in that, man. They kill it in that movie.
I love that. I love that she her career has gone all over the place. Like, she can do anything. So I'm very happy. I do want a sequel to that Will Smith movie, though, because that was a fantastic movie.
They could call it Refocused.
Oh, come on, Dan.
Right? I should be writing this one. I know.
Or if they would have released it this last year, they could be like Focus 2020, because 2020 vision is what I'm saying.
Ooh, yeah. Nice. I don't know what that is, but never had it, but I'm sure it's great.
Neither do I. Now with my contact, I have 1520, but it's a cheat code.
Yeah, you can't say that. That's ridiculous. All right, but hey, listen, I'm going to move along because I think you're going to be excited about this one. This is something that I picked out especially for you. You ready for this shit?
I am. Let's do it.
Paul McCartney and Rick Rubin are teaming up for a 6-part docuseries. First-time original masters have left the Abbey Road studio. I'm just going to read this to you real quick. It's just a little blurb. I'm getting this off of Deadline.com. Paul McCartney and top record producer Rick Rubin are joining forces on a 6-part documentary series that will amount to a behind-the-scenes magical mystery tour, I see what they did there, of McCartney's unbelievable musical journey. Rubin will be there to explore the music and musicianship of McCartney from his first guitar and composition all the way through the legendary and prolific success of the Beatles. The great musician releases his latest album, McCartney 3, this Friday. Did you know that?
I did.
Okay, well, you're really on it then. You are a super fan.
No, that's because of Bucks. So.
Lastly, Endeavor Content will finance the project and handle worldwide sales, and that process is getting underway as we speak. Film 45 is producing, as is Frank Marshall, who just directed the Bee Gees' How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? We're going to be talking about that in just a second, and Jeff Pollack. The project is untitled, and it will mark the first time ever that the original masters have left Abbey Road. Are you interested?
So Maj sent me a clip of the trailer. Listen.
I don't have to.
I
know what you're going to say.
Shivers, dude. Shivers. They're in that dark room, and Rick Rubin, who is the Zen master.
Dirty feet, though.
Oh, is he always barefoot? I didn't know he was barefoot a lot.
He's always barefoot. That grosses me out. Anyway, please proceed.
He going, and the thing is, in order to have someone interview Paul McCartney, you have to have someone who is not intimidated by his greatness. And that someone is Rick Rubin. And you can't have like a Stevie Wonder in there, because they're going to talk about music and writing. Rick Rubin can talk about it from an engineering and producer standpoint, where he's like turning down the stuff that we would want to hear. Like, he's pushing up like The first thing they show is the bass line from Lovely Rita, one of my favorite Beatles songs. And I said, oh, Rubin knows. Rubin knows. It's like, this is the one. It gave me shivers, Dan.
That's good. That's what it's supposed to do. I don't know what you're going to say about something that we're going to be talking about in just a second. I already said that gave me shivers. So I get it. You know what I mean? Especially when you have that love already for a band or a person or something like that, and they make this docuseries or a documentary, and it's like answering questions that you kind of always think about. I wonder what he does there. I wonder what he was thinking when he did. You know what I mean? Like in the recording process. And I know that's how you think. So I can imagine this being very exciting for you.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Oh, when he put on they showed him in slow motion strapping on the bass, and he was like, boo, 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 doo. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be, I mean, how many times am I going to watch this?
I thought you don't rewatch movies or docuseries, anything like that. I thought you're not one to rewatch stuff.
Oh, dude, the Songs That Kill Life making of, I watched it about 140 times. And then there's been a few documentaries on music that I've watched. Like, I know remember the VH1 behind the, behind the music, but behind the classic albums?
Yes.
I've watched ones that I didn't even know what the albums were, and I'd watch them. And so, yeah, this thing is going to be just seeing how Rick Rubin and him interact. How Rick Rubin is going to be talking about stuff that probably is way over Paul McCartney's head. And Paul's going to just be like, I guess. Like maybe, you know, because he's very zen. And Paul, just his ability to just, he's the most normal superstar on the planet.
The dude is super humble. I will say that for sure. Super humble.
He's just like, yeah, this just, and when Maj sent this to me, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was happening. It was so under the radar. I didn't even know what was happening until like Paul McCartney released a trailer yesterday. And I was just like, oh, guess what I'm going to be doing that whole day is going to be rewatching the episode over and over and over again.
I got you, man. I felt the same way about that Bee Gees documentary. I'm kind of giving you the spoilers already on it, but yeah, so I know exactly what you're feeling.
Yes, so I'm pumped.
So I'm glad you're pumped for that. That was so for you, and I'm glad that you already knew. So hey, guess what, people? If you didn't know, now you do. One more quick little story, and it's more of an eye roller for me than anything. This just came out yesterday. I'm reading this from NME.com. Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville hospitalized on Jackass 4 following a treadmill accident. Listen, Johnny Knoxville, what are you, like 50-something years old now?
Easily.
I get it. I do like the Jackass movies. I'm not a religious Jackass fan or anything like that. But guys, you're getting old. You got to be careful. This shit can't go on forever. You know what I mean? They got hospitalized 2 days into filming this movie because what they were trying to do was jump onto a treadmill while running with tubas. Funny. I can picture it being funny.
They're stupid.
But it's like how, the body only lasts so long, man. I don't know. I know that people out there just feel so undefeatable sometimes, but it's like, this is the kind of shit. Like, I don't want to have a funeral, and that's what it says on my damn gravestone. He died. Maybe I do. He died on a treadmill, vicious tuba accident or something like that. I think that's a weird story. I'm sort of excited for Jackass 4 just because it makes me, I don't care how stupid they are, they make me laugh my ass off. But it's like, come on, guys. Be careful. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So all you people out there that just always have to like, hey, look at me and look what I'm doing. Slow it down a little bit, right? Live a little. It's cool. I mean, maybe you'll get famous, but it's already been done and you can get hurt. I just proved it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Noise News. I got to tell you, Steve, it's getting a little hard towards the end here to finish up, but we're going to do it. I'm going to power through this shit, all right?
I hear you, by the way. Yes.
What, the breathing? Is the breathing?
No, it's not. It's not noticeable. It's just if you know you can hear you.
Yeah, I'm struggling. It's okay. We'll get through this. We just got a little bit more to go. We're going to talk about some things that we watched this week. Okay. I want to talk briefly about one of them. I know we have three. I don't know if you have time for three, Steve, but one of them I just want to briefly touch on, okay?
Let's do it.
Because you had mentioned it to me. I want to know what you think. So the movie that I want to talk about first is something that just dropped on Amazon Prime Video recently. I think it was like a week and a half ago, and it is called The Sound of Metal. Directed by Darius Marder, also written by him, stars Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cook, Paul Rassi. This movie is about a heavy metal drummer who just overnight loses his hearing. He begins with a little bit of a tinnitus, however you like to say it, where he's got the ringing in his ears. Suddenly he just wakes up and everything is gone. I just don't know what I would do if something like that happens. And this is what this movie's about, is like how this guy comes to grip with something that he just can't fight anymore. Just reading online, I think a lot of people went into this movie thinking that because it's called The Sound of Metal, that it was going to be like this really like punch in the face, balls to the wall kind of movie. And it's really not that.
Yeah.
I found this movie to be kind of a beautiful experience. It had a lot of very quiet parts in it, which makes sense. I mean, this movie is bringing deaf culture to the public eye. And the way that it was done, though, you start off the movie and it's very dissonant. There's a lot of like just distortion and shit like that. And then as his deafness kicks in, he starts to find his way through all of this, and he has to come to grips with the reality of, this probably isn't going to come back. He finds without really getting into the movie too much, he finds a community that accepts him, and he learns to navigate through this. But does he keep that momentum? Does he make that choice to stay that way permanently? That's for you guys to decide when you watch this movie. But what did you think, Steve?
I loved it. It's going to easily be in my top for this year. It's not even close. It's funny because I had to ask my audiology friend. I was like, "Hey, how does this whole thing work? How does the hearing, what do you call the actual contraption?"
Oh, the cochlear implant?
Yeah. I said, how does it work? And he explained, he went to the picture and he kind of just marked it out for me. He's like, this is what, you're not really hearing. You're tricking your brain into thinking you're hearing.
That's literally what I was going to say.
Yeah. And he was like, but it won't even sound like what you heard on the movie. It's going to sound even different from that. What it's trying to make into sound. It's not going to ever be the same sound that you're hearing. And he's like, sometimes it works for people. Other times nothing happens. You turn it on and nothing happens. He's like, that's the risk you're running. And I'm like, geez, I didn't know that. He's like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. It just does not work. And, he's the one that warned me, this is what happens. Now, they didn't say that this was the reason why it happened, but when you're playing live music really loud over and over and over and over and over again, and you do not have the protective earbuds that actually, the in-ear mixers, the monitors, where you can, and now I'm using an in-ear monitor system I bought myself anytime I'm playing live because he warned me about it. And he's like, yeah, this is what happens. You start because your ears, they don't regenerate. Those hearing follicles don't regenerate. Once they're dead, they're dead. It's over, done, finished. He's like, so when you're doing these things, you could be damaging your hearing. And I think that's what they're alluding to here. Is that, remember when they said, hey, what your goal is now is to keep the only hearing you have. And then the second he leaves, within a few hours, he's banging on the drum again and it goes. That's scary. I mean,
he's completely in denial. He's
totally
completely in denial. And they tried to tell him, but I don't think that's really the takeaway of the movie, but yeah, I thought that showed reality right there to me. That scene, because it's like, I hear what you say, but you have just taken away from me the thing that I love the most, and I have to make that decision. Can I just change my life that quickly?
Exactly. That's what I did.
And the way that he navigates through it, bro, is just beautiful. It's such a journey.
Yes.
It was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I just, like I said, I know a lot of people found this movie to be a little bit slow. I don't know if I'd call it slow. It's just very, like, it's not supposed to be a happy experience that you're having. This is someone's life. This is a slice, what I like to call a slice of life movie. And you're getting this picture of him, like in the movie, Olivia Cooke plays his fiance. I believe it's his fiance, but it's also his bandmate. And when this happens, she goes away. She moves off to Paris to go live with her dad. So it's really just about Riz Ahmed for the remainder of the movie. And just his personal journey with just like his frustrations when he tries to do the right thing and it's not working. And then he'll go away and he'll just like scream out loud and he can't even hear himself screaming anymore. Mm-hmm. And just those scenes. And I really appreciated, and I know that a lot of other people appreciated too, that they actually took deaf actors to make this movie. There were some people that were trying to start a stink online naturally, as they always do about anything, because you had someone that was not deaf playing someone that was deaf. But Darius Martyr, the writer of the movie, said that, it's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but this movie is about someone that has hearing and loses it and becomes deaf. Not, you know what I mean? It's not like it's a deaf guy. So in other words, the representation, I feel, was just in this.
Yes.
And again, he made up for it by actually getting people in the deaf community to do this, because I don't think that you could really, I don't think it could be 100% convincing if you had a bunch of people that weren't deaf trying to pull that off. That's just what I think. I mean, I think that it does take a bit of the human element of really being deaf to pull that off, and where it doesn't look fake. And I think that it's sort of pointless right now to do that, like to have a bunch of people do that when you can really have that quality reality of the movie, which I think is what saved this. Absolutely. I don't know about you. I just think that if they had people that were faking it, I don't know if I would buy into it as much.
No, and the teacher, Lauren Ridloff, she's in Walking Dead.
Oh, I haven't watched it for a long time.
Yeah, she's deaf in the, she does the sign language in Walking Dead, and it was a deal because they're like, yeah, we got a deaf person. Why would we hire someone and make them? No, we're just, and it's really, really good how she can, when the zombies are coming, she kneels down and she touches the floor. They're like, what is she doing? They're like, she's very sensitive to that. That's how she knows that someone is walking on this dirt path. And I'm like, this is beautiful. And they kind of alluded to this at a certain scene. I don't want to ruin for people, but just seeing how vibrations are so, it was just beautiful. Oh, I love this movie.
That's good. I'm glad you like it.
Yes, I love this movie. I love this. It's not even a like. I loved this movie.
What do you rate it?
I'm going to rate it a 4 out of 5 vibrating slides.
Okay. I will give it a 4 out of 5 bleached eyebrows, sir. Because them eyebrows were jacked up.
That jug looked crazy.
It did not look good. She's a pretty girl, too. She looked weird, man. But anyway, yes. So it's a great movie. Check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. If you feel like stepping away from the comedy and the horror movies and then you just want to see a slice of life film, I think this is great. I think that Riz Ahmed may get an Oscar for this one, or at least nominated for an Oscar for this one. I personally think so. But we'll see. It's been a weird year. I don't know what the hell they're going to do for the Oscars next year, to be honest with you.
I think this better get an Oscar nomination because
at the very least, right?
His anger at people trying to teach him something. Like, he's me. Like, I would walk in and be like, look, I ain't going to be here for long. I'm chilling for like now. Why are you teaching me any of this? And the realization that, you haven't come to, it was just beautiful. Cause I would have been here. I've been like, I don't need to learn this. I'm going to be hearing soon. Oh, it's just, anyway, yes, 4 out of 5. What was your rating again?
I gave it 4 out of 5 bleached eyebrows.
There we go.
Good movie.
All right, cool.
Loving it, man.
Nice.
Loving it. So highly recommended from both of us that you check this one out. Let's move along. All right, next up, let's talk about the Bee Gees. How do you mend a broken heart? I have been talking about this movie all week.
You have.
Telling everybody about this movie, man.
Mm-hmm.
I have been listening to the Bee Gees all week long. I've been listening to the Bee Gees my entire life, first of all. So I'm not one of them people that's just jumping on the bandwagon, which would be a weird bandwagon to jump on, to be quite honest with you. The Bee Gees are an astounding band. I think Steve and I both have love for these guys. And for those that aren't familiar or tend to lump this band into the just disco genre, it's totally understandable. Totally understandable. That's what made them famous, like, to us, because they jumped on our radar for the most part with the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. They became part of this disco movement, and the next thing you know, well, I won't tell you what happens. You can find this out in the movie, but disco goes the wrong way. Disco goes bad. Everything goes bad for them. These guys could have fallen off the face of the earth. They did not do that. This movie spans the course of, I think it's like 62 years, something like that. I mean, they started off back in the 1960s and have just become one of the greatest songwriting trios. This is just my opinion. Greatest songwriting trios in the history of music, in my opinion. I mean, I just think that they have written so many songs for people. 1,000 songs this band has. Most of them written by Barry Gibb, that is. And it was just such a treat to watch this movie. You get to see the Bee Gees from their inception when they were like a 5 or 6 piece band to their breakup, which I didn't know they'd actually broken up. And then, of course, their recovery, because there was a long time where they weren't talking. You know, they drifted apart for a long time. And when they got back together again, it was for love of just brotherhood, but it was also for the love of music. And I can only assume that when you are doing music with a sibling and you're so locked in that you'd almost feel naked not doing it with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, if something would feel off by trying to do these things by yourself. And I think that's what brought them back together. This movie, front to back, for me, was just a heartwarming. First of all, I love rock docs. I'll watch anything, but this one right here was really, really close to my heart. I learned so much about them. One thing I learned, Steve, that maybe you knew and I just honestly didn't. I had no idea that Robin sang equally as good as Barry did. I did not know that. I thought that Barry was the one that carried the band and they just did like backups for him. So I was very surprised, being that I really do like the Bee Gees a lot and I don't just listen, I haven't just heard their disco stuff, that I didn't know this. It blew my mind. blew my mind. I thought he was just the quiet, goofy looking guy that just was in the background holding his ear and singing along. You know what I mean? The backing vocals. I was blown away. Did you know this about them?
I didn't know a lot of things about them, but I'm going to let you finish.
This is one of those ones where I can keep going. I'll probably go on too long. And I don't really want to give spoilers per se, because we do have another review to do real quick. But like I said, top to bottom, this movie just fascinated me so much. I learned so much about the Bee Gees that I did not know. And what really surprised me was that there was this whole period in time with them where they were making music that was very reminiscent of the Beatles. Like, I had no idea about that. That blew my freaking mind. Makes sense. When they came out, it was Beatlemania. So everyone loved the Beatles. And you know, I could imagine 3 teenagers from the Isle of Man that are just trying to make it. Of course, you're going to draw from your influence, and you see your heroes, you know, getting the girls and being famous and all of that. It's natural. And I think that's why a lot of the bands sounded like that back then. And that's why they all had similar names, like the Turtles and the whatever, you know what I mean? Like, there was a huge Beatle influence. It's always been there, but back then it was massive because everyone wanted to do what the cool guys were doing. And I think that they were surprisingly good at it. It's amazing. Like, I really do plan on going back and listening to their old stuff because I was blown away. Like, this is good music. I just have never heard it before. I do hold their disco shit a little close to the heart, really, because I think that More Than a Woman, actually anything off of the Saturday Night soundtrack, but particularly More Than a Woman, Jive Talkin', and How Deep Is Your Love are some of the best songs that I've ever heard. I'm just being real with you. You don't have to agree with me or not, but that's how I feel. Love the Bee Gees. What did you think?
It was fantastic. I mean, look, I love hearing about a group that I never really knew much about. I knew enough about their music, but I learned so much about them and their songwriting. That's my main thing, their songwriting process, how they came up with ideas, I already knew about how the disco burning thing was very Trumpian to me. And I didn't realize how Trumpian it was until I was it started it was happening then. And the guy was like, oh, yeah.
It was straight up. It was racist and homophobic.
Straight up.
That's what it was.
He's like, some of these aren't even disco albums. You just brought a black album in and just said, I'm going to burn it.
Didn't they drop Songs in the Key of Life in there?
Yeah, one of them. And he said, he's like, it was they were putting fantastic music out that was also lifting up other forms of the disco thing. It was just, they were also lifting up other people in their wake. Because here's also what I didn't know. How monstrous they were. I knew they were famous. I knew they were popular. But we don't take into consideration how big these guys were. They were humongous stars. Like, when you look at their arena situation, you're like, Jesus Christ. They were, and also we, in music, very rarely does a musician come into favor. People say, okay, you guys are finished, and then come back bigger. That doesn't happen. It really does not happen. And then leave again and come back in a different form successful.
Yeah, exactly. Still being like kind of equally successful, just in a different form, a different realm. Yeah,
and we have that. And as far as now, mind you, remember, like the story is in the hunt, when the hunter's the only one telling the story, he always bags the lion in his story because he's the one alive. Barry admitted in the beginning, like, look, this is from what I've seen. This is what I remember. And from what he's saying, he is the one saving this group every time. Like, he's like, we got to come back and do that. We got to come back and do this. Now, probably the conversations were a little different.
Yeah, I have my theory on that. I caught that too. I'm glad that you picked up on that.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't take it like he was being a dick.
No.
But perception is truth. You know what I mean? It would be like, I know we can't compare these things, Steve, but it would be like if we were famous and they did a doc on us and they asked you, hey, tell us a story of Heroes of Noise. And then they asked me, it would probably be 2 different stories. So kind of makes sense. But
yes,
I don't think that they portrayed him as like,
no, he's not that guy. He's just saying,
matter of fact, I find him to be one of the most humble people in rock and roll, man.
I don't deny the fact that he's probably the one that picked up the phone.
Yeah.
But I don't know, after that, who knows what that conversation looked like? Who knows who came up with the songwriting idea? But it was a beautiful portrait of people that There's this great quote I recently heard from Thelonious Monk. He said, write songs that you and your band want to play, not that people want to listen to. And that's what they did. They wrote songs that they wanted to sing, not that would make them famous. They wrote songs that they wanted to sing in the studio and have fun with it. And that's what gets you famous. When you just happen to love a thing you're doing, and it just so happens that the wave is right in sync with that.
Oh, yeah. Timing was everything for these guys.
Timing was just like Elton John. For a while, he admitted, everything I touched, it just happened. And then it goes away. And the dope thing is that the Gibbs understood that he didn't try to be like, okay, let's make another album with us. No, he's like, okay, our time has passed. Why don't we start writing for people? It was a smart move. He's like, we are always going to be linked with disco. Our time is done. We can either sulk in it or we can move the hell on. Which one do you want to do? And it was a gorgeous portrait of how your career ends when you end your career. That's when it ends. Or do you want to reinvent yourself as something else? And let me tell you something, man. As a songwriter, Barry Gibb and the Gibbs are up there with the masters. As a musician, here is the signature of how good you are. If I write 1 million incredible songs and the highlight of someone tangentially to me is that they were involved with one of my masterpieces, that being involved with one of my masterpieces changed their life. That piano player was like, I did How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? No. I did How Deep Is Your Love?
I was just going to talk about him. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh man, it just changed. But for the Bee Gees, it was like, that was just one of 1 billion I did. But that fact that you were involved with that one changed your life.
Did you see how emotional? His name is Blue Weaver, by the way. But did you see when he was talking about that scene?
Almost cried.
And he's talking about how, like, I'll never forget it. And he had tears in his eyes. Like, I almost got emotional right there because it was like, you know, he wrote this beautiful song or helped write this beautiful song that will float around in the atmosphere for the remainder of our lifetimes, for sure. You know, it's just this beautiful, well-written, well-sung song, and he had this part to do with it. And when you hear the instrumental, like, he was doing some really cool shit. I was wondering if you appreciated that.
I learned it, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting turn, because we've heard the chords before. Like, they sound familiar because that's what amazing songs do. It makes you feel like you've heard the song 1 million times. Where you haven't, they just chorded these beautiful. Here's what I will say: no one else would have come along with that. It was a very singular Bee Gees thing. But when you hear Bee Gees talk about it, if you look at the documentary again, they didn't really talk about that song in amazing. Oh my! It was just another song they wrote.
Yeah.
For him,
like, ain't nothing but a thing.
For him, though, it was everything.
Highlight of his life.
For Barry, it was just like, yeah, that's what it's just. It was just a song. He asked for the best love song ever. He's like, oh, let me put this out. And he could have just kept on talking about something else.
Dude, that is the crazy part about it. And again, this is all about opinions, which is definitely one of mine. But literally, I need the best love song ever. Here you go.
Yes, no biggie.
Oh, shit, thanks.
No biggie.
you did it. Thank you very much.
And then where he's just like, and then the sun shone in through the church or through the place, and I know that music. And Barry was just like, yeah, it was just, you know.
I saw the sun in her eyes, mate, and I wrote, I see your eyes in the morning sun.
Yeah, he's like, whatever.
It worked.
It's not as deep for Barry as it was for this guy because it's a difference.
Another day at the
between,
office, man.
Yes, for him, the keyboardist is a great keyboardist, but greatness spews out of Barry Gibb, and so he was just like, oh, it was just a thing. So it doesn't mean as much because he's so used to creating amazing things. You know what I'm saying? And also, I'm not going to spoil because I want actually the people that are, out there creating music or whatever, check out how they made the drum track for.
I was just going to talk about that, man. Staying Alive. Watch
that, and let me tell you something. They don't gloss over it too much, but they do not give these two guys what these two guys actually created. They didn't talk about. They actually created something that we use today. They were like, oh, instead of doing this thing, why don't we make it easier on ourselves and do that thing? Now, mind you, it wasn't easier in a musician's brain. They were like, it would have just been easier for us to do that thing.
Well, these days, and I'm putting it lightly, it's a 5-minute process.
It is a 5-minute process.
Versus what these guys did. Yeah.
These guys did it manually. And do you understand how, when you see them with a razor blade and you see what they did, you have to understand that loops have to be exact.
Yeah.
And what these guys did was the equivalent to surgery for 5 minutes.
They took 2 perfect bars that they liked. They got some scissors and a bunch of Scotch tape, and they made history. It's that simple.
And mind you,
it didn't work out that simple, but that's really how simple it is.
What happened. And the hard thing is, when we play something, we're not perfect. We don't quantize it. We're not quantized, so we're not perfectly timed. They took a slightly imperfectly timed thing and made something perfect. Over and over. How many times that loop had to go through for 5 minutes? Perfectly. They're like, oh, and they did this. And then they move on to the next scene. I'm like, isn't that a documentary in itself right there?
Yeah. And you know what was crazy is the way that they had to do that too, by using things that you normally wouldn't. I mean, granted, scissors and tape, but I'm talking about like the mic stands and things like that they use to do that. There's some, I don't want to get off course, but if you watch that Beastie Boys documentary that's out right now on Apple TV, MCA did something very similar for that.
These guys broke ground, dude.
Yeah. I was blown away when I saw it when MCA did it, but I'm like, oh, the Bee Gees did this? Well, not really the Bee Gees, but the Bee Gees crew did that shit back in the day. I guess it wasn't unheard of because the person that thought of doing this went to the school of, I think it went to Berkeley College and had messed with that kind of thing before. But I don't know if it's ever officially been done as a full-on loop. You know what I mean? That's in a very popular song. So
well, nothing
it blew my mind.
It hasn't been in anything. I could promise you this. It wasn't used in anything that turned out to be as popular as that is. That is a massive song. Up to that point, I wouldn't be surprised if that soundtrack, the thing that knocked it off was Thriller, as far as highest selling album of all time.
Yeah, because it held the top notch for a long time.
And remember, the people that beat them is Thriller, meaning these guys just threw together a soundtrack that was only beat by the best producer of all time coming together with the best artist of all time, coming together with the best musicians and songwriters of all time. That's the only thing that knocked it off from these 3 brothers. Come on, bro. What are we talking about?
And let me tell
now?
you about 3-part harmony with these guys. They had 3-part harmony like I've never heard before. Like, what I meant was, like, when I said that Robin Gibb, I wasn't really familiar with everything he'd done, and I didn't give him enough credit for his accomplishments. There was something that this thing is chock full. This documentary is chock full of like celebrity appearances. You got Noel Gallagher, Mark Ronson, Lulu back in the day, Nick Jonas, who was a very good pool, by the way, because he's 3 brothers that are big. I think that was a very good. Whoever thought of that, pulling him in was doing some serious
that documentary is fantastic too. The Jonas Brothers documentary is another excellent documentary.
Way better than it should have been. It's even got Eric Clapton in it. I know you were excited when you saw his face, Steve. Chris Martin from Coldplay. But there's this part with Justin Timberlake, and he's talking about their 3-part harmony, and he nailed it. There's a part in Staying Alive where it's like, Staying Alive.
Yeah.
He said they were so good, and they knew it, that should have been horns. But they were like, nah, we got this. And they just did it with their voices because really they could, because they were that good. There were parts, How Deep Is Your Love is actually one of those parts where Robin and Barry are singing, the very first lyrics, are singing at the same time. And it sounds like one person singing.
I thought it was Barry doing a double. I knew it was a double. I did not know it was Morris.
I thought it was a double or two. I thought that's what they used, a doubler effect on him or something like that. And you know what? Hold on. Just for example, for people that aren't, I'm not like I'm all technical, but if you don't know what a doubler is, it's basically when you take your voice and you put a second layer over it like that. That's what we're referring to.
I think the person that does doubles the best One of the people that do doubles the best is Jerry Rafferty.
Also Simon Le Bon.
Oh, he does them too. He does them really good. It's just the fact that Jerry, you almost can't tell. He's that exact with his voice, where it's just like, oh, even his vibrato is exactly his vibrato. And then when you listen to Barry, nope, you change your mind. The fact that another person can sound identical to another person is mind-blowing. They're that good, but they were brothers. Like someone said, it's a superpower that they sound so good together. It's a superpower because it's in their DNA. They sound like that. And it's just a beautiful explanation of why they're so good. But even that doesn't give it to you. It was, as much as they're like, oh, what happened is they wrote a bunch of terrible songs. That's how they got good. No, they didn't. They didn't. From what this documentary is showing me, they had it from jump.
They had the perfect formula for success too. Their parents were like totally supportive, followed them, even when they were adults, they followed them to America. Hey,
which can sometimes be terrible, i.e. the Jackson 5. If you have the wrong parents.
Yes, that's true.
You could be like, I don't even want to be under this person anymore. They're a driver. Now, mind you, he could have also been like, I don't want to throw my dad under the bus. I could get that too. But from what I've seen, he was a great dad that just wanted him to be successful. That's it.
Yes, a Joe Jackson he was not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the results speak for themselves. The results speak for themselves.
That's true. This is very true. Hey, another thing I did not realize is that Morris was a really good bass player. Like, I've always loved the bass line for Jive Talkin', and I didn't know he did that shit. There was just these little things.
I'm like, oh. I mean, it's really also the whole, this is one thing I won't spoil. People, you need to watch the documentary just to see, because in my brain, Barry always sung like that.
Oh, yes.
In my brain,
parts. I love it.
Always sung like that. Wait till you see how it happened. And that's how magic does happen. It just, that just manifested itself. And I was like, I love that they could have kept that out. But I love that little story that it's just like, I don't know.
Me too.
It sounded interesting and I didn't know I could, well, anyway, watch the documentary. It was just little vignettes of beauty are strewn throughout this amazing. I think like Frank Marshall, man, that's why if he's in charge of this documentary for Paul McCartney.
Dude, I know.
And here's the sad part about the documentary. There's one thing we're both going to agree on. The saddest part about both documentaries is that people aren't there, other friends aren't there to be involved. Neither one has the full cast. And the last quote he says in this movie almost brought tears to my eyes. He's expressing how much he misses his brothers and what he wouldn't give to have them back. And I thought it was just the most heart-wrenching. For them to end on that, I'm like, oh, that's a director directing this. This isn't a doc. Yeah. This is a director being like, I've just ended a story for you. Here you go. And it was just beautiful, dude. The whole thing, it's just, and then and there's one part where they show them later on in life just singing around a microphone. And I'm like, I know 4 singers right now that can do an amazing job and could not do it that well. That harmony around the mic, just singing. I know great singers I could pull and they could not do that. Beautiful.
I remember back in the 90s when Morris was wearing the hat and the duster.
Yes.
And Robin was, Anyway, that era is when they did this comeback concert and it aired on, I don't know, it was like Showtime or something like that. And, back then I didn't quite have even though I've always loved the Bee Gees, I didn't have the technical appreciation for these guys. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of that just happened a few days ago. Like I've learned so much about them in a short amount of time. But I remember watching that concert and going, they still freaking got it. Like they still got it. They still sound amazing. And they put on this fantastic show. And I remember that they toured and I was like, son of a bitch, why didn't I go? But I was just into a different kind of music back then. But if I had in my head what I have now back then, Oh, I'd have caught the Bee Gees a couple of times, dude. I mean, it's a beautiful story, you guys, and
gorgeous.
I really can't speak highly enough about this. There are just so many heartwarming parts. The part that Steve was just talking about a certain song and how it's made, it's magic. It's freaking magic. And the only way that you're really going to experience that and take our work, and get what we're saying, I should say, is by watching this. So if you have HBO Max, this is the first thing you should watch, in my opinion. Check it out. It makes the purchase of HBO Max just for that alone. Honestly, it's that good. I'm ready to give a rating, Steve. Are you?
Well, last thing, from a director's point of view.
Oh yeah, please. We can keep going.
I'm talking to Dan, because you've seen it. Okay. And talking to everyone who's seen it. Let me tell you a brilliant shot they did. There's a shot that really was just like, this is a director. There's a shot where they're ending a concert and they're doing these hits, boom, boom, and they're interspersing that with people burning their albums in a stadium, where they're showing, little did they know that this was happening. They're at the top of their game. Little did they know.
That's the scene from the Oakland Coliseum.
Yes, little did they know that this is what they're coming back to. It was like, oh my God, like in this stadium, everyone's screaming and having a ball, and they're ending this concert. We're just across the pond. This is happening. And I love how they're almost shocked by it all. They're like, what the crap? Yeah. Like, what did we miss?
They got caught in the middle of it.
Exactly.
It was like this weird thing where they're like, you know what? We're going to change our sound up a little bit. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but we're going to change our sound up. We're going to keep it fresh. We just moved to Miami, because of our producer telling us to do so. Let's go try something out. And they just added a little bit of Miami sound, and suddenly, it hits in the clubs, and the next thing you know, they're massive, and Saturday Night Fever comes out. And it's just another part that I felt was one of the most important part of the movie is what happens after that. And with this whole scene with the Coliseum and the baseball stadium and everything like that, these guys got caught in the crossfire when they were just simply passing through. I don't think they would have said, hey, let's just continue to do disco the whole time. I think that we never really saw what happened because their career kind of got cut short by force.
Oh, for sure.
They were shut the fuck down for quite a while because of this big fiasco with disco. Makes a lot of sense. They show these instances or they show these examples of commercials.
Oh, dude, yes.
And, just anyone that's wanting to make a buck and how they jumped onto the disco train and they just drove it into a freaking mountain.
That duck costume didn't even seem real.
The disco duck was insane.
I was like,
I remember
what are we doing? I mean, and Barry is mad during an interview, like pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Like legit.
Oh, remember when he's like, yeah, that
one with the eye roll? I was like, okay.
Yeah, can we do that? Thank you. Can we just change? Thank you. I was like, look at Barry.
Look at Barry. That's what I said. I was like, well, look at him. And he did the little eye roll toward the camera.
It's like this one part of Barry Gibb that you see throughout the movie that you don't see anytime else. It's just this one scene where he's just pissed, and it's great.
But I'm glad that they didn't try to continue the disco thing into the 80s. I'm glad. It's a great thing that they're just like, they had to reestablish themselves. People, let me tell you something. Especially creatives. I don't care if you write. I don't care if you play music or if you want to be in movies. However you're creative, this is essential. This right here, the story of reinvention, that like I've never seen. I've never seen start out, then you're not good anymore. You're not popular. Come back more famous than ever, then you're not popular anymore. Then come back as famous as ever in another form. I'm like, who did that?
The Bee Gees.
The freaking Bee Gees. If you're like, oh, I guess my time is over. No. Oh, no. What is your next move? Oh, it's such
it's only over if you're finished.
That's it. Are you done? And Barry never was.
Jesus, man.
He never was.
And I'll be honest with you too. I felt inspired after watching it. I felt inspired. I just felt like, you know what? I mean, it sounds silly, Steve, and I'm going to be real, and I'll put my stupid self out there for just a second, is that I worry about the show all the time, this show. Like, and I'm not comparing us to the Bee Gees, but I'm saying, this is one of the most important things to me in my personal life is this podcast. I love it. And, in my head, it tends to do the waxing and waning as well. But the only thing that I really took from that is that it was just what Steve said. It's, or maybe it was what I said. You're only finished when you're done, and I just felt so inspired after watching that. I'm like, I had like 10 ideas. You know what I mean? Like as soon as I finished watching them, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and set this up for next year. I'm going to do this. And it's just such an inspiring movie. And I think that even if you're not a fan of, first of all, if you go, I don't like disco, you're cheating yourself out of a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just not, that's just not them. Like I said at the beginning, I understand why you feel that way, but you are cheating yourself out of a fantastic movie and an even more fantastic story by subscribing to that belief. Go and watch this, man. And another thing that I think that last thing I'll say is there's a certain part where they tend to go more towards songwriting. You know, this is in the later years. And if you're not like a fan of the Bee Gees and you don't know the songs that they've written, that Barry Gibb has written, I think you're going to be surprised.
I was.
Oh, shit.
I was.
See, I wasn't. You know what? I wasn't surprised at all. But what was really cool about it was that, and it didn't even take like me knowing this. When you hear those songs, those are Bee Gees songs.
Oh,
like
dude,
those are straight.
As soon as I heard them, I was like, oh. At first, you're like, oh, they wrote the. Okay, yep. Like well, there's a part with Dolly and.
Yeah, Islands in the Stream.
As soon as
Dolly and Kenny Rogers.
I was like, oh, they wrote. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, I can hear them singing it. Yeah, they wrote that song. And I'm saying they. I'm gonna assume that they all had. But there is definitely a signature. There's a signature thing that I hear very Barry. There is a signature he has.
What about Heartbreaker, Dionne Warwick? That's a total Barry Gibb song right there.
I had never heard that song before in my life.
Oh, really? But you know what I mean, though, right?
Oh,
when
no,
you hear it,
it's
you're like, that's totally a Bee Gees
And then
song.
Diana Ross out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And this is around the I'm Coming Out time, isn't it?
Close. I think it might have been before. I could be wrong.
Oh, I didn't
Maybe
know
it was the same. No, don't quote me. It could have been the same exact year. I don't know.
It smells like it.
A little bit.
Yeah, it smells like it. But people, okay, well, Dan's ready. What are you giving this?
I am giving this the strongest 5 out of 5 started jokes.
I'm going to give it the strongest 5 out of 5 bridge beats. Nice.
That was another favorite part of the movie for me. Even though I knew that story, I had never heard him tell it. It was really cool.
It was I could have done a whole episode I could have done a music documentary episode.
Dude, I considered saving this for Patreon and just talking about it the entire time. That's how much I
would have loved to do that. I mean, because now it's like everything pales. Like, it's like, I am so glad that you talked about this. Because remember, you had said you've talked about it. I think you talked about it on the show, and then you asked me in a text to watch it. I would not have watched this movie.
Oh my God. So glad you did.
Because I was like, I know.
And I'm sure you're glad you did.
Oh, no. Here's the thing. It gave such fire being like, you just don't know what people are going to like. You just do what you like. People are so flint. You never know. And then tomorrow you're not, but just do what you love and put it out there. Even if it's based on a bridge beat that you had, do it. Who knows? Have fun.
Yeah. And one more thing. If you're fighting with your family right now and you think it's fixable, fix it, because
Absolutely.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I'm not saying you're going to turn to the Bee Gees and be successful, but family is important. You know what I mean? And this displays it so well. You know, the camaraderie was there, and then the inner turmoil. And I don't think that we really talked enough about Morris. You were saying about the whole the hunter always tells the story a little bit better thing. I think that if I had to guess, just from what I saw, because they do show footage of Morris and Robin talking a lot. So you feel like they're in the movie with Barry. They're just not, obviously it's just old footage. But I think that Morris was probably the unsung hero that kept that band together.
Absolutely.
That's how it seemed to me.
That's what it smells like. And it's just a beautiful story of brothers. And it starts out with him, explaining how he's like, I can't believe they are not on this earth anymore. Like every day, he's just unbelievable. And I'm like, dude,
broke my heart just hearing that.
Just hearing that. Knowing that if you've lost, especially during this time, it's like knowing that that's forever. He lost them years ago. And he's like, I cannot believe they're not here. I was like, oh, God, am I going to be able to deal with this? Am I going to be? But then they immediately be like, let's take you to a happier. That's a director, bro.
And I love when rock documentaries start off with the they're walking to stage.
Yes.
Walking to go on stage. I just love that. And you can hear the crowd like,
oh, dude.
It's just so awesome.
I'm going to send you a video. There's a video that I didn't know you like that because I look for that stuff. Remember because there was a million back in the day, a million Michael Jackson documentaries of him walking in that outfit to the stage and running up the stairs. You're like, oh my God, it's happening. But there's another one where they're showing Prince backstage dancing to James Brown with his band, like clapping his hands, and they're gone and he's still dancing. And all of a sudden he's just walking around this corner and then he stands in front of a curtain and the curtain opens and it shows him and he shows him in his pocket and his hat just walking toward the mic, and everybody's like, and I said, oh my God. Like, I didn't realize how much I love that moment where he's standing in front of the curtain and it just opens and he just has his hat. Dude, I love those moments.
They do that shit for a reason. I am a sucker for that shit.
I am a
So please send it to
sucker.
me.
I watched Kiss do it. Like walking through the back hallways of this stadium in their outfits, and I'm like, I don't even listen to Kiss. But I'm getting like nervous seeing them being like, we're about, like them fist bumping the people who work backstage and stuff, being like, all right, have a good show. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening.
Yeah, it's a feeling I'll never experience, man. And I just, it's got to be one of the best feelings in the world.
You know what's
right
funny?
Before you walk out, or right as you're walking on stage.
Here's the thing, you never know. How do you know the
True.
pod, you don't do a live pod? And people are just like, they do that in the back of Comic-Con. Never put out what's not going to happen. I've learned that from this documentary too.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate what you're saying. But, I was just, for the reference of that particular scene.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, there's just something that's so magical.
No one's going to experience watching, like seeing Freddie Mercury, like getting ready for Live Aid. The only reason that gives me chills is because I know what's actually going to.
What's to come.
That's what I'm seeing. For him, it's just another day, having fun running on set. But I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, I know what is about to happen. But the crowd doesn't know what is about to happen. So I'll send you the video of Prince having fun, and then musicology, and then the curtain opens. You're like, we went to that show. We went to the musicology show. Yeah. And so, but people, and there's a lot of YouTube that's not official documentaries, but there are a lot of fun YouTube documentaries too. So check those out also. Again, 5 out of 5. The Bee Gees. Man,
what can you say?
What can I it really, like I said, I'll say it again. When your splash makes someone's whole career, it's just a wake of your wave. When they're just like, oh, it was the best day of my life, and every time I hear that song, I cry. And for Barry, it's just like, that's just another one of my million songs for me. That's another day.
Yeah.
For him, it's his life. To him, for Barry, it's like, okay.
I assure you guys, we haven't even scratched the surface. We didn't even get into Andy Gibb or any of that stuff. There's so much with
heartbreaking.
This. It's heartbreaking. But even if you're like, and I'm not trying to like say you don't know this because of your age, but if you're like, in your young 20s or something like that, and you don't really know who the Bee Gees are, don't worry about it. Watch this movie. It's inspiring. It's magical. It's heartbreaking. It's everything, man. Like the name, How Do You Mend a Broken Heart, is perfect for this documentary.
And also, people, here's the thing. It was last year that I had only heard the Bee Gees version. And my mom was like, you never heard Al Green's version of How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? I was like, no. She said, that's normally the version that we hear. I said, I only heard the Bee Gees version. And I was like, let me hear Al Green's.
Oh,
and
so
I was
good.
like, oh, that's a really good. In my pantheon of redos cover songs, I'm like, I never even put that because I never heard it. But my mom was like, from where you come from, normally that's the only version we know is the Al Green.
It was the first version I heard.
You heard the Al Green version?
And honestly, pretty late in life, where it like stuck with me. I've talked about this movie several times. I know you haven't seen it, but I really do recommend you watch this movie. It's called Notting Hill with. I'm surprised you haven't actually. Notting Hill with Hugh Grant and come on now, Roberts. Oh my God, I just blanked on her. Jesus Christ, how do I blank on Julia Roberts' name? But yes, that movie's excellent.
Funny? I just because I'm part of a Reddit group, Movie Details and making of movies, and I'm also on this. They have these massive glossaries of where films were shot and how you visit those film
You want to see the blue door, don't you?
Yes. And so I'm just like, oh, someone put the blue door. I'm like, what the crap is this? They painted over it so you can't find it because the people living there got so sick of people coming. I was like, why is people tripping over this movie? And now hearing you say something about it, I'm like, oh, that's funny. People travel there and they can't find the door anymore. They're like, yeah, the owners painted over it. So we're saying from our community, stop doing that. Like, leave her alone.
Pretty smart.
You know what I'm saying?
I would do the same thing.
Yeah, but people...
But anyway, about that movie, though, there's just this one scene that song carries the whole scene. And it's just so beautifully done. And that's what, honestly, what made me like this movie so much was like, oh, it just hits so well with the emotions that it just made me love that movie.
And one thing about that song as a singer, like for all the singers, you have to have a lot of confidence to sing a song that slow. You have to have confidence in your voice because you have to hold out notes. It's a slow song and you have to trust your voice. And let me tell you, Al Green trusted his voice.
I saw him do that song live.
No, you did not.
At Fresno Fair, of all places.
Did he kill it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was later on in life?
It was later on in life. But it was still like, oh my God, I'm watching this though. You know what I mean? I've seen Al Green in concert. That's something that a lot of people can't say.
Love my... Well,
I'm happy about
since it's the first I heard, obviously the Bee Gees version is the one that it's just like, I just think it's a beautifully written song. I'm like, this is a heartbreaking... like when you love someone like that... You know, because a million people had said you broke my heart, but it's so wonderful to be like, how do you mend a broken heart? It's like, what a beautiful idea. What a beautiful idea of a song. Be like, as if you accidentally say that, I wouldn't be surprised if all the brothers would be like, write that down. Whoever just said that, it's a perfect name.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's like everyone's been through the broken heart thing, but no one said, hey, but where do we go from here?
Exactly. No one's been like, oh, but on the other side, how do we do that? And for him to be like, oh, no, I don't answer that. I just be like, well, how do you do this? How do you do this impossible thing? Who knows? I'm like, oh, what a beautiful light. That's just fantastic. That's just fantastic.
We literally could talk about this an entire podcast.
Yes.
We have one more quick review to do, and I think that people need to know about this movie. So the movie that I am talking about is a movie that I was not expecting to like quite as much. It is called Freaky. Came out in 2020. It just came out, actually. After swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, this is weird. What a weird contrast going from Bee Gees to this, but it's worth it. After swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, a young girl in high school discovers she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. This sounds maybe a little like Freaky Friday. Guess what? It's because it's supposed to be like Freaky Friday, but we're putting a serial killer and a high school girl in this. And it stars Vince Vaughn, who hasn't really been around much, at least on my radar lately. I'll talk about what I think about him in just a second. And Catherine Newton as Millie. Vince Vaughn plays the butcher, who's the serial killer. The rest of the cast is Celeste O'Connor, Misha Osovich, Emily Holder, Nicholas Stargell, and a slew of other people. I'm just going to be quick about it because I know we got to get going, Steve. I think this movie might be one of my favorites of the year as far as comedies go.
Oh, wow.
It's not a laugh, like belly laughing kind of a movie, but there are a couple of scenes. One scene in particular takes place in the back of a car. That just gave me, like, not only was I laughing at what was going on the screen, but I'm laughing imagining what must have taken place while they were filming this particular scene. When the jokes hit in this movie, they hit really hard. And at least that's what I think. And the other thing that really surprised me about it is that I think Vince Vaughn has kind of fallen off over the course of the last few years. This is the best Vince Vaughn I've seen in a really long time. It's funny. I laughed. It wasn't the traditional Vince Vaughn with the quick wit, fast talking, you know what I mean? That heavily insulting kind of guy, sarcastic. It's a different role for him. He's done things that are kind of, different from his normal, but I really think that this was great and kind of put him back in good graces with me. Loved it. Hilarious, violent, gory. Something I wasn't expecting. There is possibly kill of the year in this movie that I'm going to have for the Noisies. At least it's definitely going to be a contender. What else? Let's see. I think that the supporting cast was great. I think that the girl that played Millie was fantastic. And I think that the way that they played each other was great. I don't know. I'm actually curious to see what you think. I have a feeling you didn't like this movie as much as I did, but I will just quickly tell you folks that I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's not going to be... When I said it was the best, I'm talking about like it's one of the comedies that really made me laugh most out of the year. Am I going to put this to where it's winning movie of the year in the Noisies? No, but it's highly entertaining. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it too. So you can always hit us up at heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Steve, go for it.
I thought it was good. I thought it was it was better than it had any business being. I watched it. I didn't get up to do anything, so I was in the backseat again. The backseat, I agree, was a funny scene. It was just a fun movie. If you have a chance to like rent it for like $4, totally worth it. $5 even, totally worth it. It's a perfectly enjoyable film. It's Vince Vaughn back to doing what Vince Vaughn does. He needs to stay out of whatever the crap he be doing off scene. Just do what you do well and just chill on the other stuff. He does this very, very, very well. And it's him back to form where he's just Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, physical comedy.
Yeah. Having fun. Now I do want to, it brings a want to see him back in his fast talking, him and, he and Favs together. I don't see that happening though. But, it'd be fun to see him do that. But all the actors were good. Everyone knew exactly what movie they were in. The cop sister was annoying for some reason. I could have dealt without her.
I agree with you.
I don't know what her thing was. I don't know why she just annoyed. I was like, what is her? They could have done without her. I loved it. I thought I was purely entertained, thoroughly entertained.
Nice. What's your rating, sir?
I'm going to give this I'm not even going to ruin it. I'm not going to even say, because that's a really, really, really good kill.
Kill of the year, I'm telling you.
I will give it 2.5 football mascots.
I'll play around a little bit. I will go ahead and give this, what'd you give it, 2.5?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give this one 3 out of 5 shoulder injuries.
That's a really good rating. I think we actually, these were 2 good movies. 2 or 3?
3. Sound of Metal.
There it is, Sound of Metal. 3. These are 3 good movies we saw. And so I'm very excited that none of them were like, why did we watch this?
Life is too short to be watching these bad movies, dog.
Exactly. Dan wants to be fist bumping people backstage. So he got things to do. He got things to handle. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Dan, thank you for sticking in there, bro.
My pleasure, man.
Hanging in there, man.
Thank you. I feel a little better after talking about the Bee Gees, believe it or not. Like, it actually excited me and kind of woke me up a little bit.
That is fantastic.
We'll see what happens when I stop recording.
You know what was funny about Justin Timberlake being on this documentary, right?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that scene a lot, or that I've been thinking about that skit a lot lately. Talking it up on the Very Good Talk Show.
It's so
about
funny,
crazy
dude.
cool medallions.
And the fact that Jimmy, for no reason, makes Barry like a loose cannon when he obviously is not.
He's so cool, calm, and collected. But there you go. I mean, that's the comedy, right?
It's so funny. But anyway, I love you guys. Next voice you're going to hear is Dan the Man. Peace.
Guys, thanks for listening. I am glad that we were able to do this one for you. I don't see myself going out and not being able to record, but we'll see what happens. I think I'm going to be okay. Just to say that, I think I'm going to be just fine. But it's been a pleasure talking with my man Steve. It always is. I'm glad that we were able to get something out to you guys. And by the way, thanks for your patience with our inconsistency. December's been a crazy month, and we're just trying to get them out when we can. So anyone that's our Patreon patron, know that we will keep our promise. We will get you our 2 shows this month. It's just that healthcare and holiday music apparently take up way more time than we would ever expect, just particularly in December. And I'm going to go ahead and stop right there because I can't talk anymore. I'm losing my breath and everything. My name is Dan Ramirez. That is Steve Hudson. We are the Heroes of Noise. People, be good to yourselves. Be good to the people around you because that's important. Peace.